The Matrix Revolutions might be the worst movie I have ever reviewed as Confused Matthew so far. I know I said that thing at the end of Batman v Superman about a new rule, but even having two people stop fighting because their moms have the same first name is at least something you can talk about. Reviewing The Matrix Revolutions was all about the details. When you get down to it, there really isn't anything much to say about this. Although I understand it's kind of ironic to say that, considering I still managed to make this a 4-part review. But honestly, there wasn't even that bad philosophy angle that I was able to cover in the last film. Just nothing. There were one or two ideas in The Matrix Reloaded that could have made for a good film, but a review of The Matrix Revolutions was pretty much a review of how it was just a bad idea to begin with. And I think that's been proven over time. People still talk about the Star Wars prequels. People are even still debating Batman v Superman, though that might change over time. No one even talks about this movie anymore. It has practically been erased from our collective cultural minds. We've been hearing rumors of a Matrix reboot, or maybe it's not a reboot, we don't really know yet, but at time of this recording, there are preliminary plans to do something with the Matrix property, and honestly, I couldn't be happier about this. I don't know what the Wachowskis were thinking with these sequels, but I always believed that the Matrix universe was big enough and interesting enough to have new stories and characters, and I'm happy to see it having a new lease on life. At least, seeing it have that possibility. One thing I will say about the Wachowskis is that as much shit as they were given for the Matrix sequels, they were always very honest about the criticism they received. In the commentary that they put on their DVDs, they included not just written reviews that were negative, they actually invited 3 critics to sit down and speak on their DVDs about how much they didn't like the sequels. That takes some real character, to have people who you know are going to be unfavorable to your work come and speak about it for all to hear. I thought that was a really stand-up thing to do, and I think for all that I haven't been a fan of most of their work, I think the Wachowskis are really stand-up people. So anyway, here it is. Maybe the worst ending to a film series that I have ever seen. But as I say, it might not be the end after all, so maybe this will all turn out to be just those sequels that we don't count anymore. Only time will tell, but in the meantime, here's the review.
You know his words will get you farther than the film will ever go. Give him a moment of your time, he'll tell you what's wrong with the show. He knows what's good, what's bad, what's really bad. His face is just a sign. Say hello to Confused Matthew.
The Matrix Revolutions picks up exactly where the last film leaves off. So the beginning of this film is really just the middle of one big pile of shit. So no sense wasting time, let's just jump right in. Neo is unconscious on a table, and at first they think he's in a coma, but later on they realize that his brainwave patterns read like someone connected to the Matrix. They search the Matrix for him, but can't find him. The scene then cuts to Neo lying on the floor of a train station. Now, the first thing to understand about this scene is that the scene itself and everyone in it are totally irrelevant. We are never gonna see these people again, and the little girl isn't going to do anything important in this film at all. She's just in it. The other two are just here to explain why they're in the train station, which is also irrelevant because the train station doesn't matter either. We're never gonna see it again after this. They could have had Neo hanging out with the Robear Burbles and it wouldn't have mattered. After the first 10 minutes, the film just forgets all about this anyway. So then they all have a really irritating conversation. Ramachandra, that's this guy's name, tells Neo that he's here to smuggle their daughter out of the Matrix. You see, every program that is created has to have a purpose, and if it doesn't, it's deleted. Their daughter Seti has no purpose, but her parents love her, so they're sending her to live with the Oracle. This is another example of the architect doing a plain shitty job of architecting. If every program has to have a purpose, why program the Matrix to allow irrelevant programs to be created in the first place? So then Neo remarks that he has never heard of a program speak of love before. It's a human emotion. Ramachandra responds, "No, it's a word. What matters is the connection the word implies." Yeah, he knows. He was talking about the connection the word implies. Exercise some common sense. He wasn't surprised that you were speaking of a word. So then Ramachandra says they won't be going with their daughter, that they have to stay, and that it's their karma to do so. Neo remarks, "You believe in karma?" And Ramachandra responds, Karma is a word. Like love. It means what I am here to do. Oh, so you believe in what you're here to do? Here to do is a word. Like karma. It means, you know what? Just shut the hell up. Stop making this conversation more difficult than it needs to be. It's not that complicated. It's not that deep. Shut the hell up. So eventually the train man shows up, kicks Neo's ass, and takes the programs away. So Neo's one powers work in the Matrix. They work outside the Matrix, but they don't work here. Alright. Meanwhile, Morpheus and Trinity get a call from Seraph to go and see the Oracle. They go in and find a completely different woman sitting there. The dialogue explaining this is necessarily vague because the Wachowskis just weren't counting on a casting change. Gloria Foster very tragically died before the shooting took place of the third film, so Mary Alice was cast to replace her, and the explanation for this, no fault of theirs, had to be made up pretty much on the fly. But what's telling about this is that this vague explanation is no less vague than any other plot point or piece of dialogue in this film or the last one, which really makes me wonder if both films weren't made up on the fly. So she tells them that Neo is trapped in the train station, which is a world between the real world and the Matrix. The train station was built by the train man who works for the Merovingian. So the Oracle sends Seraph with them to track down the train man. They find him, but he runs away, which forces them to track him to a nightclub. They fight their way through until eventually arriving once again at the Merovingian and Persephone. The Merovingian agrees to speak with them if they give up their weapons, and the three all agree. So he starts talking once again about cause, effect, and the nature of the universe, and all that crap that we've heard before. This begins one of the biggest disappointments in this entire film, and what a sign of things to come. I mean, sure, I could have been struck dead after this scene and have been happy as a clam after seeing Monica Bellucci in this thing. Yowzer. But while I found the Merovingian to be interesting and entertaining in the last film, somehow hearing this again just got irritating and redundant for me. We've heard this all before in Reloaded, and now it's just getting old. I would much rather they have built and developed these characters rather than just having them continue on the same note until they're suddenly cut off. That's right, this is the last time we are ever going to see the Merovingian or Persephone. What a complete waste. The Merovingian tells them that he will release Neo if they give him the eyes of the Oracle, which is another frustrating plot point because while we're told that these eyes cannot be taken, only given, we are never told what the eyes of the Oracle actually do. Are these physical eyes? Are they a metaphor? What are they for? Are we just supposed to guess? So Trinity just says fuck it and pulls a gun on the Merovingian, which causes everyone to pull a gun on everyone else. She tells him to give up Neo or everyone in the room will die. The Merovingian agrees and Neo is released. So they're driving through town when Neo suddenly decides to go to see the Oracle before he leaves. And here we go again, all aboard the Bullshit Express. He arrives at the Oracle's apartment, and after some back and forth about her new appearance, he asks her, "Why didn't you tell me about the Architect, or Zion and the ones before me?" And the Oracle replies, "Because it wasn't time for you to know." Neo then asks who decided it wasn't time, and instead of responding directly, the Oracle directs him to a sign above the door. Neo looks at it, thinks it over for a while, and finally responds, "I did." So Neo decided that it wasn't time for him to know something that he didn't know yet. That's impossible. That's completely absurd. How the hell can Neo possibly know whether he's ready to know it or not? He doesn't know what it is yet. So now they've got Neo making choices before he understands why he's making them, and deciding that he's not ready to know things before he knows them. I'm so tired of this. Do I even have to explain why this is bullshit anymore? Like I said in Reloaded, when it comes to postmodern philosophy, just invert something. So then Neo decides that it's time for him to know some more things. He asks the Oracle how he is able to be in the Matrix without being hooked up, and how he was able to stop the Sentinels by magic. The Oracle explains that the power of the One extends beyond this world. It reaches from here all the way back to where it came from, the Source. That's what he felt when he touched the Sentinels. Wait, the source is the machine mainframe, right? Isn't that the place that Neo decided not to go? But he can still access it even though he's not there? What? Whatever. So then Neo says to the Oracle, and you're not gonna believe this. You're just not gonna believe it could have happened. The architect told me that if I didn't return to the source, Zion would be destroyed by midnight tonight. No, that's not what he said. That's not even close to what he said. He said if Neo didn't return to the source, there would be a cataclysmic system crash killing everyone connected to the Matrix, and that Neo wouldn't be able to choose the 23 people he needs to rebuild Zion after it was destroyed. Zion was going to be destroyed whether Neo returned to the source or not. I mean, for God's sake, did the Wachowski brothers hold a single script meeting for this thing? Was there a script? How do you not know what the architect said to Neo? You're writing this. So now the stakes that were established at the end of the last film have been completely changed. Now there is no threat of system crash, that's taken totally off the table, and the destruction of Zion has gone from something that was inevitable to something that apparently wouldn't have happened if Neo returned to the source. Well, that's just plain not what we were told in the last film. So what accounts for this sudden and inexplicable change in plot points? I'm not even going to say a wizard did it. That's letting them off way too easy. The key word here is bad writing. Welcome to part 2. So the Oracle and Neo finally wrap up their little conversation. The architect doesn't understand choice any more than the Wachowski brothers do. One way or another, this war is going to end, and Smith is Neo's opposite. Okay, how long has that been the case? Considering Smith was just any old agent in the first film, I'm going to go ahead and assume that this is something that began in Reloaded. Okay, then this isn't Smith. How are we supposed to care about Smith and be interested the way we were in the first film if it's not him? Hell, why even have Hugo Weaving play him? It's not Smith anymore. This is exactly the same problem I have when I hear everyone call that thing Ripley in Alien Resurrection. It's not her. And what also doesn't make sense is that the Oracle tells Neo that Smith is the result of the equation trying to balance itself out. Well, if you want to have a balanced equation, you generally want to have one positive and one negative. This is one positive and 1,001 negatives. That's still unbalanced. So Neo wakes up and then goes off by himself to think things out. They then happen to come across a downed ship with Niobe on board. That's the woman that Morpheus used to be dating until she traded up for Commander Angryfuck. She tells him that she saw the Oracle and that the Oracle told her that soon Neo would need help and that she would have to either choose to help him or not. So is it just me, or has the Oracle become remarkably unuseful in the last two films? If someone needs help, then obviously you're going to choose to either help them or not. I could have told her that. So meanwhile, back in the Matrix, a load of Smiths are swarming the Oracle's building. The film then forces us to watch Seraph and the little girl trying to get away. Why? These two are not characters. We don't care about them. And what's worse is that Seraph tries to protect the girl by taking her to an elevator, and when that doesn't work, he tries hiding her in one of the rooms of the building. So what happened to his magic keys? Did he just lose them somewhere? Anyway, eventually Smith catches up to both of them and takes them over. Who cares? Then finally he takes over the Oracle, and the last thing we see in this scene is Smith looking around the room and laughing. Meanwhile, down in Zion, everyone is preparing for the big battle. Now, I've been trying like hell to come up with a way to adequately explain Zion's defensive strategy here, and this is the best I can do. The defensive strategy on the part of Zion suffers from brain asphyxia. This is the most retarded excuse for a defense I've ever seen in any film. First off, we have the mechs, which all have open cockpits, leaving the drivers completely vulnerable to attack. The machines don't even have to try to take out the mechs, they just have to take out the people in the mechs. Even if Zion has the most second-rate engineers in the world, it shouldn't be that hard to make a blast shield for these things. Second, as soon as targets start swarming in, the mechs begin unloading on them with bullets. 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 This is supposed to be around $21.99, and they haven't even developed energy weapons yet? Oh wait, they do have energy weapons? Well then what the hell are they using bullets for? So here's their basic defense strategy. The mechs outline a certain perimeter, and as soon as targets are in range, they begin firing blind, wildly, and unstrategically at anything that happens to come within their field of vision until they run out of ammo. When this happens, the soldiers in the mechs begin shouting, "Reload! Reload!" So then a door opens up to their pit crew, and look at this. Look how ridiculous this is. They've got people using energy weapons that don't need to be reloaded to give covering fire for people who are delivering bullets to reload the mechs. That would be like if there was a war where one side had guns, but they only use them to give covering fire for someone who's delivering knives to a knife thrower. Why don't you just use the energy weapons? Save time, manpower, resources, and equipment. So while this mental retardation is going on down below, above Zion, the digging machines are still working, and the machines are sending more troops through. So obviously, these need to be dealt with too. So, how do they deal with them? Do they send a few people up there with EMPs to take out all the drillers and the reinforcements in one shot? No. They send people up there with a missile launcher to take out each driller individually. Now just to clarify one crucial point here, firing off an EMP at this position would not affect Zion below. Zion is out of range from this position. We know this because later in the film an EMP is fired from Zion and it does not affect the digging machines above, so obviously they're out of range. So these people are forced to take down the drilling machines with a missile launcher, which, first of all, the launcher itself is so huge and cumbersome that it takes a whole other person to reload it. What a waste of manpower. Second of all, the launchers have absolutely no targeting capability, which forces the shooter to pretty much fire blind and hope to God it hits what they want it to hit, which means, third of all, the machines can just leap in front of the missiles and defend the drilling machines. Okay, well this is gonna take forever. I sure hope you brought a shitload of missiles. So the battle rages on inside Zion with no clear strategy on the part of either side. The machines just zigzag around like chickens with their heads cut off, and Zion itself fires wildly at any old target, creating dozens of crossfires that do nothing but impede their own efforts. And all the while, the audience has no way of knowing who's winning and who's losing. Finally, in a mind-boggling and almost hilarious display, Commander Angryfuck gets pissed off because, what do you know, taking out each individual digger with a missile launcher is taking too long. So he very angrily proclaims, "Where the hell is my infantry? I want that goddamn machine taken down." Why the hell did you send your infantry up there in the first place? You have EMPs! Just send a few more expendable people up there to fire some off. Zion is where your infantry needs to be. That's where the machines are actually shooting at you. Good God, no wonder this place has been taken down 5 times. Meanwhile, back on the Logos, Neo is still thinking things through. Then Bane, the guy that Smith took over, wakes up, and the crew begin questioning him. It seems he fired off an EMP that took out a bunch of Zion's ships before they could get into a defensive position, and this caused the machines to take advantage and wipe them all out. Bane insists that he can't remember what happened, and that he has no idea how he got the cuts on his arms. Now, this next comment is admittedly subjective. It doesn't really matter, and it doesn't make the film any better or worse. It's just something that's always bothered me about this. Shouldn't this Smith have absolutely no motor control? This is the first time he's ever been in a body. When we become aware of our bodies for the first time, it takes us forever just to learn how to eat with a spoon without stabbing ourselves in the eye. Okay, maybe it just took me forever, but regardless, how does this make sense?
Now some people have argued, well, part of Smith is Neo, so because Neo knows, Smith knows too. Well, maybe that's a good enough explanation, but I don't know, it just seems a little too convenient for me. So finally Neo emerges and apologizes for wasting everyone's time, but he knows what he has to do now. He has to take a ship to the Machine City. He doesn't know why, he doesn't know what he's going to do when he gets there, he just knows this has to happen. Generic naysayer number 3 then pipes up and says,
"This is ass. If you want to kill yourself with divine, but do it without wasting one of our ships, you're out of your goddamn mind."
Niobe then chimes in and tells Neo that he can use her ship. Wow, what do you know? Niobe did either choose to help Neo or not. Once again, the Wachowskis seem to be under the impression that clairvoyance means 50-50. Welcome to part 3. I want to ask one quick question before we move on here. What the hell happened to the plot of this film? Not that there ever was much of one in the first place, but The Matrix Reloaded and Revolutions are kind of like Kill Bill Volumes 1 and 2. It's essentially one film split up into 2 parts, and they're both meant to be taken together. The Matrix Reloaded was horrible, but you at least got the sense that they were trying to set some things up in it, what with the new kinds of programs, the new characters, and all that philosophical talk, albeit bullshit philosophical talk, about choice and control. So what the hell happened to any of it? It all just disappears into thin air and just never pays off. It's like the Wachowski brothers eventually just said, well shoot, you know what, we've got a whole other feature-length film to shoot, and we're plumb out of jargon. Well, I guess we'll just have to have Zion shooting at things until the clock runs out. And as I said in part 2, even the shooting in this film is stupid. So the battle rages on and on and on in Zion. In fact, in terms of what is seen in this film, this battle is most of the film. I want to bring one other thing to your attention about the defensive efforts inside Zion. In Reloaded, we had every ship grounded and forbidden to leave the city because Commander Angry Fuck adamantly stated, we need every ship we have if we're going to survive this attack. Now, I don't know about any of you, but I sure as shit didn't see any ships fighting in Zion or outside Zion or above Zion or below Zion or anywhere for that matter. It's like he was retaining all the ships just to have them disappear into thin air. And you know what the awful thing about being forced to watch this battle is? We already know that this isn't going to be the resolving factor of this film. This is made even more clear by the fact that Zion has already been taken down 5 times before, meaning that the machines obviously know exactly what to do in order to destroy it. So if Zion has no chance of success, and the battle has nothing to do with what the resolution is going to be, why the hell do we need to watch this? So meanwhile, back on the Hammer, Neo and Trinity are preparing to journey to the Machine City. And while this is happening, Baines/Smith goes apeshit nuts, kills a crewman, and escapes aboard the Logos. You know, you've been pissing and moaning about how crazy this guy is, and yet you leave him alone in a room with a woman half his size, and never bother to station any security around him in or outside the room. Honestly, how can we feel that bad for people this stupid? So Neo and Trinity board the Logos, and the 2 ships part ways going in opposite directions. Now, considering the Logos is going towards what might somehow turn out to be the actual resolution to Zion's problems, and the Hammer is just going back to the irrelevant battle, you'd think this is the last time we would see the Hammer and all of its irrelevant people on board. But no! We actually have more screen time with this going on than anything about Neo and Trinity's journey. Why? I mean, I understand why it's important for Neo to go to the Machine City, as he obviously somehow knows this needs to happen in order to resolve this. What the hell difference does it make if the Hammer gets back to Zion or not? So the Hammer begins its long journey home, but they inadvertently get the attention of an assload of machines that begin chasing after them. They start unloading on them with a crapload of guns that again seem to have magically appeared on the ships since the last film. Eventually a few machines make it to their radio antenna and destroy it. Unfortunately for them, this means that they cannot transmit their access codes to Zion, and so although they are seen coming, Commander Angry Fuck doesn't believe it's one of theirs. I don't want to sound unfeeling here, But one ship trying to get home in the scheme of what's happening to Zion right now just doesn't matter. I mean, sure, this ship has at least one character on board who we know, but even he doesn't have anything to do in this film anymore. Especially considering how much time they spend on this, I just don't understand why we're supposed to care whether they get back to Zion or not. Anyway, eventually Zion gets the confirmation that the ship is theirs. One of the officers comments that if they get back to the city and fire off an EMP, they could take out all the machines inside. Of course, they could have done that with any of the ships that were kept in Zion if they hadn't all disappeared into thin air. Commander Angry Fuck is then concerned that if they fire off an EMP from this position, it would do more than just disable the machines, they'll take out the entire defense system and they'll lose the dock. The other officer replies by saying, "Sir, we've already lost the dock." My point exactly. What the hell difference does this make? So Commander Angry Fuck orders the gate to be opened, but it seems the machines are way ahead of them and have already disabled the gate. Now, what the hell do the machines care if that ship gets through or not? As the commander just said, they've already lost the dock. If an EMP is fired and they lose a few more of their forces, it's not like the humans are going to take it back. They've already been pushed deeper into Zion, and the machines have plenty of reinforcements along the way. If you're going to set up a conflict, you have to make it matter. So Commander Angry Fuck orders the nearest mech to open Gate 3. He tries his best, but quickly runs out of ammo. So this kid eventually delivers a pack, but to no avail. The machines just swarm on this guy and take him out in a matter of seconds. Amazing what an actual coordinated effort can accomplish. So the kid comes to his side, and this guy's just all fucked up. Cue the gratuitous sentimentality.
Leave me, kid. I'm finished.
No, Papa. You could still be alright.
No. I'm done for. But don't you worry about me. You just bring that gate down good, son.
I will, Papa. I will. So based on how melodramatically this scene was set up, you'd think that bringing the gate down would actually achieve something. But no, it doesn't do anything. The ship gets in, they fire off an EMP, more reinforcements come, and Zion is in exactly the same position as before this took place. So what the hell did they set this scene up this way for? So everyone in Zion is now screwed until something comes along and saves them. Meanwhile, Neo and Trinity are on their way when all of a sudden the power goes down in their ship. Trinity goes and checks the power relays when she gets captured by Smith. Neo shows up touting a gun, but Smith threatens him, telling him that if he doesn't hand it over, he will kill Trinity. Which would be quite an interesting conflict if it weren't for the fact that she's just gonna die a few scenes later anyway. Welcome to part 4. So Neo gives up the gun and tells Smith to hand over Trinity. Smith then drops Trinity right back into the power control center where he knows she can mess with the controls, even though at the very least he could have just cut her throat before dropping her in and Neo wouldn't have been able to do anything about it. So then Neo and Smith have a conversation that consists of nothing but Smith trying to clue him into the fact that he's, well, Smith. This goes on for much longer than it should, considering there is only one person in any world that calls him Mr. Anderson. Finally, Neo figures it out, and just before Smith can shoot him dead, what do you know, Trinity takes all the lights down. These two then have a fight, and finally Smith burns Neo's eyes off. He picks up a pole and is about to finish him off when Neo catches him, and it is revealed that Neo can see the machine inside the man. Here then is another frustrating example of the Wachowskis' complete inability to actually blend metaphysical points with their actual film. Is there a reason Neo was able to do this, or is this just some sort of metaphor about having to be blind before you can see or some shit? We'll never know, it's never explained. So finally the two take the ship up to the surface and begin flying to the Machine City. Seeing their approach, the machines then unload volleys and volleys of more machines. Neo uses his magic powers to destroy some of them, but eventually there are too many for him to take down. So Neo says, "Take us up, over them." and then the ship flies up and away, completely over the clouds, and back down again. Pretty nifty trick, considering we've been told time and time again that this is a hovercraft. Without even so much as wings, how the hell is this thing able to defy the basic laws of gravity? Well, it's never explained how. The Wachowskis just need it to happen, so it does. That would be like if they had Neo and Trinity together in a glider, and Neo suddenly shouts, "Quick, take us to Mach 3, it's our only chance!" And the glider actually does go to Mach 3, and it's never explained how. Watching this thing fly up in the air is one of the stupidest looking things I've ever witnessed. The ship is about as aerodynamic as a refrigerator. It looks like it was designed to plummet out of the sky like a stone. So then the ship crashes in the Machine City, and Neo is just fine. Not Trinity, though. She's dying. Sorry, Neo. You'll have to find yourself another fuck buddy. So then Neo climbs around in the city before finally reaching what I assume is some kind of machine leader. The thing makes a bunch of machines swarm around it to form a face, which begins speaking to Neo. Now, how the hell is that necessary? Obviously the voice isn't coming from the face's vocal cords, so if they can just generate a voice to talk to Neo, what's the point of having the machines create a face to mimic what it's saying? Neo tells the face that Smith is spreading through the Matrix, and soon he will spread through the Machine City. They can't stop him, but Neo can. The machine asks what he wants, and Neo responds, peace. What exactly does this peace consist of? Maybe we'll find out in the wrap-up. So then Neo is taken to the Matrix, and we find hundreds of thousands of Smiths all over the place. Now, I just want to say, when I saw the way they ended Reloaded, I thought I knew what they were going to do with this one. I figured it was a Star Trek The Next Generation kind of deal where Zion and everyone in it never actually got out of the Matrix. That the Revolution was actually just a Matrix inside the Matrix. I waited in horror at the thought of this terrible and undercutting idea being used in this film. But after seeing what they actually did with it, I just want to say, I would rather have seen that than this. I would rather have seen anything than this. Who wants to watch a Matrix story where the only thing in the Matrix is Smith? This isn't even the Matrix anymore. Now it's just Smith World. I have racked my brain ever since I saw the ending of this film, and I have still yet to think of any idea for a climax that is any less interesting than this one. The Smith who took over the Oracle comes out and tells Neo that the rest of him is just going to sit back and enjoy the show, because they already blew most of the special effects budget on the fight scene in the last film. So for their final climactic battle, they actually have a fight that is much less interesting and less menacing than any of the fights in the two previous films. Wonderful. Neo and Smith run at each other and begin punching the crap out of one another. Then the two get knocked back and Neo flies up in the air, followed by Smith. Okay, how long has he been able to do that? If Smith can fly, then why didn't all the Smiths just fly after Neo in the Reloaded fight? Can we have a hint? Once again, when the Wachowskis need things to happen, they just do. No explanation given. So these two just end up fighting forever, and here I have to ask again, can anyone involved in this fight die? If Neo kills this Smith, it doesn't really matter because there are plenty that can take his place. And in this scene, we see Neo being trucked through buildings and plummeting from 1,000 feet in the air, landing on solid concrete that produces a massive crater in the ground, and he's just a little wobbly for it. So again, what's at stake here? The running time? Finally, Neo is on the ground, and Smith apparently inadvertently tells him that everything that has a beginning has an end. After this, Smith gets freaked out for no apparent reason, and then up and copies himself into Neo. Then the machines on the outside give Neo a seizure, and this causes the inhabited Smith to be destroyed. After this, the rest of the Smiths follow suit, being all destroyed immediately afterwards. So, how the hell did that happen? How was Neo able to destroy all the Smiths simply by destroying one of the inhabiting ones? When this Smith was killed, it didn't affect the others, so what the hell? I've actually done research to try and find an answer, but surprise, surprise, there has never been one given by the Wachowskis themselves, because once again, they don't even know. So I'm now forced to go with the majority of public opinion, which seems to be that Neo's death canceled out all the other Smiths. Now, I don't think the majority of public opinion understands how canceling something out works. Once again, we have here 1 positive and 1 million negatives. Now, if you have negative 1 million and you add a positive 1 to that, you get negative 999,999, not 0. This ending never even has a chance to make sense. We're not only not given any clues as to how this was done, but any attempt to explain it ourselves only brings up more and more problems. So I'm forced to conclude that a wizard did it. Hey, it's more than the Wachowskis gave us. So after all the Smiths are destroyed, the machines attacking Zion just up and go away. This leads to the most pitiful and laughable ending scene I've ever seen in my life. Hey, everyone, it's over! He did it! Who, son? Who? Neo, sir, he saved us! Oh, Neo? Where is he? I don't know. Well, then how do you know he saved us? Because look, see, it's over, he did it. Well, yeah, the machines are leaving, but how do you know Neo had anything to do with it? Maybe they're just regrouping, or they could be malfunctioning. No, it's over. Neo saved us. Okay, you don't have nearly enough information to make that claim with that kind of certainty, but whatever, yay.
I have imagined this moment for so long.
What moment?
The moment that the war was over.
Oh, the war's over?
Yes, the machines have stopped shooting at us.
Okay, that's not what we've been trying to accomplish all these years. We haven't been trying to get the machines to not shoot at us. We've been trying to get people out of the Matrix.
Oh, they're going to let people out of the Matrix now, too.
Why?
Because Neo made them pinky swear they would.
Whatever, can we just wrap this up now, please? So the pointless little girl makes a pointless rainbow for Neo, the Ewoks start dancing around, and then the movie's over. The Oracle once said to Neo that he didn't come to her to make a choice. He already made it. He's just trying to understand why he made it. I think this is the way the sequels were made too. The Wachowskis didn't have script meetings or screenplay read-throughs to try to make good sequels. In their minds, they already made them. Now they're just trying to understand why they made them. And so is everybody else.